Divers can be one of the most annoying class or character archetype in any game, but they are especially annoying in Marvel Rivals. That being said, by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what to do against divers so you can start beating them at their own game. But first things first, if you have not checked out that video that I made on how to deal with each diver, please check it out. It is going to go over the strengths and weaknesses of each diver and what to do to counter them. So check that out first and then come back here. The reason being is because we're going to apply what we learned from that video and put it into practice in this video. So step one of figuring out how to deal with a diver is understanding what type of diver it is. A lot of players think that all divers are the same. They are not. The way that they approach you is different. What they're looking for before they go in is different, and how they execute what they're doing is different. When you understand exactly what they are going to do and how they're going to do it, you can easily avoid getting dove by them. In this game, we're on the second half. We're playing defense now. Now, I'm playing the tank, but we're not going to be using me as the example, obviously, because I'm on tank right now. But you guys know that I do play strategist, and I've also climbed a strategist-only account. I know exactly how to deal with these type of threats. But, you know, sometimes others do not. And this is an eternity match, by the way, just for people that are questioning what rank it might be. It is an eternity match. So we do understand that there is a Magic and there is a Black Panther. Our healers are kind of spread out, right? They're afraid. This is what happens because the first point they were getting attacked and accosted by them. So in the second half, you know, they're afraid. There's two problems with this. The first problem is simply this. Let's just write this out here. We'll put it down there on at the bottom right. So you are not safe if you group, B, split. So if you're not safe when you group, a lot of players feel like if you huddle up together, the diver can't get you. That's incorrect, especially because some divers do AoE damage. Regardless of where you stand, you're getting KO'd. And then they feel like, well, you can't split either. Well, because divers want you split, right? They want you split. That way you can get the KO easier, right? So how do you deal with this? I also want to add, you're not safe, see, if you get peeled. So this is another thing that strategist players lean on a lot. I always KO as strategist because I don't get peel. I never get peel, so I lose my games. That's something you have to take accountability for. You're not going to be able to be successful as a strategist if you feel like you need peel all the time. There's a lot of things that players need to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to add something else to this. So we're going to keep this up here and we're going to add one more. So things players need to do. I'm not even going to say players, actually. We're just going to say roles. So every role has a job to do, including yours. Now, if you are not a strategist player, don't worry. This is applicable to you if you play something like Hello or Hawkeye and things like that, you know. But we're focusing on strategists here more for this video. So the first thing you want to think about is tank. What do they have to do? Well, they have to create / hold space, right? That's one of their main goals. The next one is DPS. What do they have to do? They have to pressure, do damage. A lot of people think DPS is just some quote unquote brain dead role, and it's not. I feel like DPS is the easiest role because you don't have as many duties as the other two. However, you're still very important. It's not like, oh, a DPS is not important. You're important. So they are important by causing pressure. The more pressure that they put on the field, the easier it is for your team to play the game. So that is something that a DPS does. If it's a sniper, people need to watch out for sight lines. If it's a diver, people need to be aware of you. And the list goes on and on with how DPS work. There's a lot of great ones in this game. Next thing we have is support. We're just going to put sup, right? What is the sup's job? Realistically, the sup's job is to heal, plus utility. So in like Cloak and Dagger's example, they can blind. In Invisible Woman's example, they can like suck people in, or they can push them away or pull them in, stuff like that. So that's kind of like how they work. Now, what happens whenever anybody gets distracted? Well, if the tank gets distracted and they have to peel for you, what does that mean? Realistically, it means I can't create and hold space. This is what happens when someone peels for you that's a tank. If there's only one tank, like this given scenario, if I do anything on a map that is supposed to be a convoy map, and I give up space to turn around and to assist you, especially if the player is this far away, I'm giving up space and allowing them to push. Even if the diver doesn't get KO'd, the tank will you'll eventually lose, right? If the diver goes in and he does what he wants to do, And it just goes boom, 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 boom. And the tank goes, okay, I'm helping. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, I'm helping. They slowly just creep until they win. This is what you want to avoid. And so this is why you have to think about, if they assist you, they are losing out on stuff, right? DPS. They can't do pressure or do damage if they're assisting you, right? They have to turn around, they have to help you and whatnot. And then same thing for supports. If the support is getting dove, they can't heal and provide utility. So everybody in this machine needs to work together so that way someone can do something while the other role is still doing their job. Does that make sense? So as an example, if the cart is sitting right here where I am, and my healer is getting attacked here, I can turn around because I'm not technically losing space. I'm just helping out in the same vicinity, right? This means my DPS can still play the game. They can still provide pressure and all the extra good stuff. If, let's just say, I'm too far away and I'm holding here by myself, and maybe there's another healer, but someone's getting attacked, back there, then my DPS needs to stop doing damage and causing pressure so that I can continue to hold the space. Now, when I climb, I don't use comms, and so I don't communicate any of this. That's just how I play. I don't like using comms. People are just butts, so I don't use comms, right? Same thing here. If the support is getting dove and the other support needs to help, this means that the other two roles are not getting heals. This means the tank needs to relax and not go crazy, and this means the DPS needs to relax and not go crazy. You see how each role is impacted by what the enemy team does. It's not just the divers are diving me and nobody's helping me. It's not that. And in this particular game, we actually helped them the entire time. And the strategists still felt like they weren't getting peeled. This is why peeling your divers or complaining about not getting peeled is not a constructive thing to do. Because even if you get peels, the divers can be so good that they will still KO you. As I said, some divers literally have AoE damage, which means they can KO you regardless if you're in your team or not, regardless if they're peeling. All they need to do is do it faster than they get taken out. That's all. So how do we deal with this though? How do we deal with this if even if my team peels, I still get KO'd? Divers are just ridiculously broken. I mean, let's be real, they kind of are, but how do we deal with this? What did I say at the start? Understand what type of diver it is and how they want to play. If we look at their divers, who do they have? Well, they have Black Panther, right? And then they also have Magic. Now, what does this mean for us? Well, realistically, this means that they attack and approach a few different ways. Black Panther mostly approaches from rooftop. Magic mostly approaches from flanks, right? For the most part, Black Panthers come from the air and Magics come from the side or from behind you. This means that in order for us to avoid it, we need to make sure that we are as high as the Black Panther, or we need to make sure that we are higher than the Magic. So on the same level as Black Panther or higher than Magic. They might be thinking, well, that's kind of weird. I don't really understand what you're saying. Well, we're gonna talk about it. Don't worry. So now that we understand how they would approach you, we have to understand how they execute, right? A lot of players don't understand different characters. I had a Celestial Rocket player not know. This is Eternity match, by the way, so we're out of that. But I had a Celestial Rocket player not know they can heal themselves with orbs. There is a lot of players who do not understand the entire game. And it might be you. This is why I said it's important for you to understand how these characters work. So when we're talking about Magic, you really just need to know the basics. She likes to come from, she's very linear. So she likes to go horizontally. If she's here, she's going to approach you in a line. Magic cannot curve. She cannot do angles. She only goes straight. She could probably go backwards, but you're not going to be behind her. That'd be weird. So she can only go straight. And most of the time, she's going to lead with a teleport into a spin, or she's going to lead with a dash. So as soon as you see the teleport, you know she's coming. And if you see her in general, you know to avoid the dash, right? When we're talking about Black Panther, Black Panther is very flexible. So the way that he attacks is he'll spear you, and then he'll come in and do his combo. Usually it's about 2 to 3 dashes. But if you can somehow avoid his spear or his spin kick, he's done. So let's play this out and see if there's any way that we could outplay the scenario. As I said before, Black Panther, now I don't really know exactly what they did because I couldn't see them, obviously. I'm tanking. But I just know how Black Panther and Magic players play, and when I play Strategist, these are the things I'm looking out for. So we're going to play this out, and we're going to see what they do. Black Panther, what is he doing? Instantly going top. That's what he does. So if you are someone who's playing Strategist, being here is basically being prey, right? The same thing is if you're in cover. Let's just say I'm in closed spaces. Being here is not good for a Black Panther or Magic. But if you're going against the Spider-Man, it is. Because the way that they approach is through the air. So again, each character has a different way they approach, and I recommend you watch that dive video because I talk about every single one of them and how they play out. Black Panther's appearing right here. Now clearly this guy's not a Black Panther main, right? He's not coming from the top. This is free. Now you could come from here. It's fine. Not saying he can't, but it's just way harder to know that you're coming if you're above me than below me. So Black Panther is coming. As I said before, characters do AoE damage. Black Panther does AoE damage. This means he can't. You don't want to group. You don't want to be split, but you don't want to be in a situation like this. The other part is that he attacks in a line, just like Magic. So we both have line-based characters in this match. Continue to play it out. He comes in, and we instantly go to cloak and disappear. What was the problem? Well, the problem is we weren't really aware of Black Panther. Let me break it down more for you guys. If the spawn door is open here, where is he coming from? Here. If you pay attention and look forward, you will know that he would pass through if he would decide to go the other way. So already we're in a bad position because we didn't anticipate where he was coming from. If we know Black Panther is coming from the left, we need to be more to the right. Now you just said, well, Poppet, isn't it not smart to be in enclosed areas with these characters? You're correct. It's not. However, positioning is better than how you deal with all these characters. Okay? If you can position in a spot where they're not going to be able to hit you, that is priority number one. If you are going to be in the spot, well, that's a different story, right? But as I said before, the easiest way to deal with divers is just not be there in the first place, right? If we're here, we can be healing our team without any pressure. Should Black Panther come in, what is he going to do? We explained what Black Panther does, right? Black Panther is a straightforward and back character. He cannot turn. So imagine if we're healing here and he comes and he throws a spear. What if we just go out here? Mr. Fantastic is also right there. Now, it could be like popping, and then we're in line of sight. You are, but let's be real. With divers, you're going to be always in danger. It doesn't matter where you stand, because divers can get to you no matter where you are, but you can make it difficult for them. If he decides to throw his spear, and he hits it, and you notice, he can't get a dash on you. The mark will wear off, go right back to the location. And this is going to be how you deal with these type of characters. Because as that happens, then they're not going to be able to deal with you. They're not going to be able to KO you. So we talked about a few things here so far. Let's just write it down real quick on what we talked about. I know this is kind of like a lengthy one, but I didn't want it to be too lengthy. So we talked about a few things. How to be safe. Oops. 1, don't be there. 2, position where it's hard to get. 3, understand their abilities. Okay? When you understand these 3 things, you start to have a huge edge over the supports or over the divers. Now, divers can be really good, and if they are better than you at diving than you are at positioning, you're going to get KO'd. It doesn't matter who's peeling for you. It doesn't matter anything. I think this is something that we fail to understand. It is okay for players to be better than you. It is okay for divers to be better than your team. It happens. It's not just a diver problem. They're just good. They hone their craft and they practice, just like you practice being a strategist. So there's nothing to be afraid of or upset over, because you just need to learn more. That's all. The next thing I want to hop into is going to be the advantage and disadvantage. So each map has an advantage location and a disadvantage location for both parties. Each section of a map, again, has advantage and disadvantage for both parties. As an example, if we were to go all the way over here, right, and we were to fight here, and there's a Spider-Man on the enemy team, this is a very hard spot for him to fight because it's very enclosed, and Spider-Mans don't like that. They like the air. They like to be out. They like to be in the open. This is very hard for them to do if they're here. This is just a brief example, and again, a good Spider-Man doesn't care about this, but a lot of the times you're not going against really good versions. You're going against just average divers. And so when you understand that each spot has an advantage and disadvantage, not just for divers, but for everybody, you can deal with it better. This is why I said if you position here and Black Panther threw a spear at you from behind like he was going to, if you walk out here, he can't dash onto you. You're healing, you're healing, you're healing, you're healing. He has an option. You come out here and try to fight you, or he doesn't. And then you go right back in, right? And this is going to be how you deal with them. Now, this is just an example, obviously. You're going to have to weigh the pros and cons if there's a sniper on the enemy team and et cetera, et cetera. But if you look at their team, there isn't anything that can do damage to you, right? This is why you understand team compositions. There's nothing that can do ranged damage to you. So if you were to do this example, you're perfectly safe every single time. Now, if there was a Hela or a Hawkeye, you need to think different. You need to think differently. But I will say that divers usually aren't a problem if there's just one. There's always multiple that causes an issue. However, there's a bad side to having multiple divers. Sightlines. There's no way that anybody can do range damage if there's a lot of divers on the team, which means that you can play a lot more freely in the open. Vice versa, if there's a lot of snipers, you have to play more in enclosed areas. You see how this all comes together. And this is a lot of what strategist players do not understand, because a lot of them play the same way every single game. But if you want to get to high ranks, and if you want to start beating all these players, especially these divers that you just can't stand, you do have to think of it at a higher level. Unfortunately, in order to deal with a diver, you have to put in more effort than they do to actually KO you. Let's just say the diver only has to put like 80% of their time into diving you, because it's not that hard. You have to put 100% or 110% of your effort to avoid it. That's just how it is. That's the nature of the game. That's the nature of these characters. And it sucks. But you have to take accountability. If you're getting picked off, it's because you're not understanding what to do. Now, if we move forward and we look at the magic, we'll use the same exact example for the magic here. Black Panther comes in, we go up high. Does this mean we're safe? No, it doesn't mean we're safe, right? Why? Well, what do divers want? They want you to be excluded. This is why I say, just because you're far away, it doesn't mean you're safe. And just because you're close doesn't mean you're safe. You need to be able to understand the game at a fundamental level to outplay divers. So we're not safe. What we should do right after this is we should drop down. We should have been dropped down because we're healed now. Go back to the floor. If she did that, magic would dive here. And honestly, we could have used the same strategy for magic. If we see magic there and we sit here and we're healing, she has to walk through this entire path or dash through, or she's going to go around backwards. But if she does that and you hear her, then you could just go over here. And then she has to do the same thing over and over again. And if she decides to dash at you, well, you're pretty much safe, right? How's she going to dash at you and hit you from here? Then when she decides to walk back, you walk back. It's very easy to outplay divers. The problem is when strategists get dove, they get very emotional. They think that it's because their team's not healing. They think that it's because divers are broken. They kind of are. They think that it's because, you know, everything else but ourselves. And this isn't just a strategist thing. Every single role, and a lot of players in this game do not take accountability for their actions. It's always someone else's fault. It's always the game's fault. It's always everything but me. But I'm telling you, as someone who's climbed every single role on each of their accounts, if you take accountability, it becomes drastically easier to start climbing. It's so much easier to climb. It's ridiculous. If you can outplay a situation like this just by simply moving before they dive, because you understand how they approach you, you understand how their skills work, you'll be able to stomp them. This is an eternity lobby. And I could have easily outplayed this myself. And I do actually end up switching to healer in another game, and we ended up winning because I know how to do it. I don't have that game. It's not this game, obviously, because I'm playing tank. But when I have someone else who can play tank, not a lot of people play tanks, and I don't know why. But when I have someone else play tank for me, and I notice my healers are struggling, I'll just say, "Can you play tank? Can you play DPS? I'll heal," and we'll end up winning. As I said, though, there are some players who are very, very, very good at diving. There is not much you can do about that, and that's when you need assistance from your team. But you should not need assistance from your team on every single dive. You should not. This is something where we all have to work together and understand our limits. When you really can't handle it, when you really can't deal with being dope, even though you position well, you play well, you use your abilities safely, you swap to a character that's very hard to catch should you be really having trouble, like maybe playing Rocket. When you do all of that, that's when you need more assistance, and that's when your team will most likely be helping you. But I guarantee once you start understanding how things work from this perspective, you're gonna notice how many times you don't really need peel. You don't. Once you learn to outthink these guys on a fundamental level, you'll be able to start outplaying them just by moving around. So real quick, let's speed run it. Let's wrap it up. So how to be safe. Number one is just don't be there. If you know where they're coming from and you know where to position as far away as possible from them, not your team, but from the target, it's easier for you to avoid. If I know they're coming from here, I'm going to be over here. Once they come over here, I'm going to try to make my way over here. It's very simple, very easy concept, and this works for every single map. You just need to understand where they are and position differently according. A lot of supports try to stay in the same spot, like you see here. This is just default support play. We'll stay in the same spot and we'll heal. Oh no, I'm dove. Let me react. Move around. You have the entire map to play. Bro, chill. Do everything. As long as you can do your thing, I'd rather you spend time 2 to 3 seconds repositioning than spending 10 or 20 seconds respawning. So if you need to stop healing your tank for 2 to 3 seconds to move out the way, do that for sure. The second thing, position where it's hard to get. As I said before, if we understand that Black Panther and Magic are very linear, very horizontal base type characters, we know that they're straight. They're going to always just boom, go for a straight shot. If we know this, we can just position it in areas where if they go for a straight shot, I'm blocked. Just like line of sight characters like snipers. Right? If you're getting sniped, here's an example. If we're getting sniped by Hawkeye and I position here, I can't get sniped. Well, if you're getting dove by Magic or Black Panther and they're there, let's just say there, if I stand here, I can't get dove. If they're up, that's different, right? Let's just say, well, they're up here. Well, how do you position if it's not a straight line and they're up here? Remember what I told you. If you can get on their level, it becomes a lot easier to deal with those type of characters. But let's just say, well, Poppin, I don't have a way to actually outplay this. What do? Go under them. If I'm a Black Panther or a Magic and I need to go straight, how do I do that going down? Well, you could say, well, Black Panther will just jump and throw a spear. He will. But how much harder is it for him, Magic, and all these characters to do a combo looking straight down? Especially if you're on your team. It's not always about being far away, but it's also just about positioning where it's hard to get you. The third thing is understanding their abilities. How do they actually use their abilities? Again, if you struggle with that, I have a video made. I will link it below. If you struggle with that, check that out. But how do they use their abilities? How do they approach you? Because I know for a fact that if I position under them, it's very hard for them to dive, then I'm going to do that. How does Magic dash? She doesn't dash down. She teleports and it only goes horizontal, right? How does Black Panther do a spin kick? It's only horizontal. Yes, they can finesse, but remember, if you're going against someone who like has a bajillion hours in one character, I guarantee it doesn't matter what you do, they're going to get to you. They have way too many hours in the character, but you can make it harder for them to do it. If you're going against an average player, this will be enough to make them not even want to play the character anymore because they can't get to you. You just need to be smarter than the diver, and I guarantee you're going to notice how much easier it is to deal with them. But please take accountability. The more you say, I need peel, nobody's helping me, this is why I lose games. The more power you're giving to the game, the more power you're giving to the dive player. Understand you're good enough and you're capable enough on your own to handle a lot of these situations. I was in your shoes too. I have a support account. I know what you're going through. And it took me a lot of games to figure out what to do. But this is why I make these videos. So that way you guys do not have to go through the same, a lot of hours that I've put into to figure it out. It's already right here for you. However, if you feel like you're still struggling, no matter what you do, you're still struggling. Well, that's okay because I give free replay reviews. Check that description box below free replay reviews, click the link. I also give coaching sessions as well. So if you're like, well, Poppin, I want a one-on-one with you. I want to talk about my problems and I want you to help me dissect it because I feel like I need to explain more to you. Well, that's what coaching sessions are for. So click that join button down below, or again, the description box has a link if you do not see that join button, and check that out as well. I appreciate you guys watching. And until next time, you know what I always say. Think you guys are doing what? Popping often, but often.